There's a lot of weirdness floating around in the atmosphere between the radio stations that you jam in your car and cool trucker CB chatter.
I says, Pigpen, this here's a rubber duck, and I'm about to put the hammer down.
Shortwave radio occupies these so-called shortwave frequencies that sit just above the medium band, typically used for AM radio broadcasts. The sheer amount of things happening on shortwave frequencies is kind of mind-boggling. Stuff like Air Force One in-flight phone calls, CIA communications, mysterious letter beacon broadcasts. Shortwave listeners have been cataloging these frequencies since the 1930s, reporting on foreign news during the Second World War, or just connecting with other amateur radio enthusiasts from around the globe.
AC4 Eau Claire. What Gary's referring to is that there are really two types of amateur radio. There's the worldwide communication that takes place on the shortwave radio, and then there's the local communication that happens on the VHF and UHF bands.
During the height of the Cold War, shortwave listeners started to notice new stations. Stations that seemed to serve no particular purpose and that didn't respond to operator contact. They were also spooky as shit.
Yankee, Hotel, Foxtrot. Yankee, Hotel, Foxtrot.
If you're my age and you dress something like this, you'll recognize that as the sample from which Wilco's 2002 album, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, got its name. Even though shortwave listeners had been cataloging these frequencies for decades, it wasn't until they were compiled by Akin Fernandez in 1997 and released as the 5-disc Conet project that non-hobbyists like me and Jeff Tweedy from Wilco first heard what had been confounding Fernandez and his peers.
39715.
Listeners dubbed these mysterious frequencies number stations, and many of them were even given their own names, like that one, the Lincolnshire Poacher, which broadcast from the mid-70s until 2008. Obviously, if this was a mystery from 2014, it would end up being a viral campaign for some new Axe-flavored energy drink. But here's the thing. Even though no one actually agrees what number stations are for, it's pretty obvious that the answer is spies.
These broadcasts began routinely during the Cold War. They're translated only with something called a one-time pad, a dictionary for a language spoken just once.
Spies!
Spies.
We don't know where they're coming from, no, some spy network or something.
Like the nice newsman said, the general assumption has been that number stations exist to communicate with spies using an encryption technique that will only make sense to the spy. And this theory was basically proven when the FBI cracked a long-running Cuban number station known as Atención. Those translations were a key part of the US government's case against the Cuban Five in 1998. Another telling piece of evidence comes from the long-running Russian station known as the Buzzer. The Buzzer, or UB-76, has only been interrupted occasionally. Once for a conversation, once for a 30-minute phone call, and once for 38 seconds of Swan Lake. Legend has it that UB-76 is somehow connected to the Dead Hand, Russia's failed deadly system of mutually assured nuclear destruction. When the signal appeared to move in 2010, a team of urban explorers visited the former broadcast site and claimed to find an abandoned military base complete with radio logs. The photos are convincingly desolate and Russian-looking. It's unlikely we'll ever know exactly what number stations are for, especially since the Cold War is long over and so many are still operational all over the world. which I guess is the fun of it, if this is your idea of fun.
6, 7, 8, 9, 9.
What do you think? Are number stations broadcasting secret messages to spies all over the world? Will you ever sleep again? Let us know what you think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for new episodes of This Exists every week. Be excellent to each other. Last week's episode was all about alternatives to the traditional QWERTY keyboard. Let's see what you guys had to say. We've somehow become one of these channels that people are eager to claim first on the videos of. This is great, although I think it's a bit confusing because of the new YouTube comment system. It's tough to see who's actually first, so there's a lot of people pretending. But my favorite comes from my boy Haberstram, whose name and avatar I approve of, saying, "Water please, I'm dying of thirst." That may be a played out internet joke, but it was the first time I had heard it, and I laughed, and I showed my friend, and they were like, "I don't give a shit." My friends are not supportive. Rock 1000 10,000 or Rock 10001000 was one of several gamers who pointed out that the QWERTY keyboard is pretty important for most PC games these days. One of the keyboards that we didn't tackle, and it was the idea of separate gamer keyboards that are super strange looking and initially really caught my eye. I was like, who makes a keypad that just has, WASD on it? That's crazy, because I don't play a lot of PC games and I thought these keyboards looked crazy. But I'm curious, for those of you that are gamers actively on your PCs, do you use a separate gaming keyboard? Is that a thing that's important for functionality for you? And in that case, would the change to the QWERTY keyboard actually affect the separate functionality of a gaming keyboard? Missilefant made the extremely important point that last week's video came from a very, very North American perspective. QWERTY is not the worldwide standard. In France, there's a ZERTY, there's Quartz in other parts of Europe, and I didn't even acknowledge that. I should have, and I knew that they were there, but I didn't say, is QWERTY/ZERTY/Quartz always going to be the standard? Thank you, no one, for tearing off my head for being so culturally insensitive, and it's great to know that we have so many viewers from other parts of the world. We had someone talking about their Czech keyboard and Missilefant with a French keyboard. And in the future, I will seek to make sure that our videos don't purely present ideas from the perspective of a guy living in Toronto. But I'm glad you still got my point, and I think most of the ideas still apply, because a corded keyboard is hilarious wherever you are in the world. The Just Me 2K11 opened up my mind to a video that I'd never seen before, which is a guy who managed to program his guitar to write his emails. I mean, it's effectively just another corded keyboard, but there's a fantastic video. I'll include the link in the description, and it's a guy who just, set up a MIDI controller to pick up his sweet flying V as he writes emails and shreds simultaneously. It was an awesome video, and I can't believe I didn't find it or include it, and I apologize and thank you. John Dodson was one of several viewers who pointed out that voice recognition, which we didn't even touch on in the episode, is most likely the future of text input for both our mobile devices and any sort of home computer that we may end up using in the future. In particular, he makes reference to the film Her, which I have marked and still haven't watched, but it's fairly clear that that's a technology that is improving. I recently tried to text my girlfriend with a voice input on my phone while driving, and it wrote out something, it wrote out a very unaffectionate and offensive term for women, and I'm really glad that I looked at it and deleted it before I sent it, because I assure you that was not the road that I was looking for. This week's This Exists Sam's Club Book of the Week, book time, is Bayou of Pigs by Stuart Bell. Because we're talking about all this cool spy shit, I started thinking about this fantastic book that I read all about the failed military invasion of the island of Dominica, not by a traditional military, but a bunch of incredibly stupid white supremacists. It's a fascinating look at crime, stupidity, white supremacy, the politics of the Caribbean, and while you're thinking about weird spy conspiracy stuff, it just may suit your taste. So check out Bayou of Pigs by Stuart Bell. It is the This Book Exists bookity book of the week.